and Formula One Philosophy is back for part 2 of our Canadian Grand Prix recap. This is the bad. The race certainly wasn't the bad. The track certainly wasn't the bad. But I think you all know where we're going with the bad this week. So, without further ado, I think we should just get into it, Sean. The bad of this week, I think, for everybody was McLaren. Elmo's word of the day is the talk. Or I guess that's a phrase. I should have watched Sesame Street, and maybe it would have helped me through kindergarten and grade school.
No, it wouldn't have.
I guess I'll learn that in a few months as to why you say that. The phrase of the day is the talk. Teams need to have the talk with their drivers. Both of my bads have this theme. McLaren obviously was not on it this weekend. They're allowed. They're allowed not to be the fastest car every weekend. That's not the problem. They're allowed Norris and Piastri to have subpar qualifying. Norris has now become commonplace, so that's no problem that he fucked up qualifying once again with a fast car, a brand new front wing, which seemed to be great for the race. That's all fine. We expect that of Norris now. The problem is McLaren still hasn't had the talk and told them that he's the number 2 driver. Because as we know, as we all saw with 4 laps to go, for some reason he tries to find a gap where there's no gap at all and destroys his race. Which all could have been avoided if McLaren had the discussion of team orders. Lando, hold position. Oscar may slowly catch Antonelli, although they did tell Oscar a couple laps that's probably going to be a straight shot between Verstappen and Antonelli for second. Lando doesn't know that. Have the fucking talk with Lando to hold position. Let them catch up to Antonelli together if they can. And avoid this nonsense. To gain 2 points on Oscar, he destroyed potentially his championship. Good job. I don't blame him as much as I blame McLaren for still trying to make this happen. He's clearly not the championship favorite anymore. He's arguably the worst championship favorite in human history. Why are they still doing this? They could have had 22 points, not lost any ground on Mercedes, lost no ground on Max in the Drivers' Championship. Well, like a little bit of ground, but barely any, especially in Norris's case. But instead, he fucks things up trying to find a gap where there's no gap. When he had also 4 laps or 5 laps left to potentially pass Oscar, when he had passed Oscar a couple corners before at, what's that big turn called? The one you and I sat at?
The hairpin.
The hairpin. Is it just called the hairpin? I thought it had a special name. Well, way to go, Nick.
No.
But yeah, before I keep ranting, it was just a major fuck up from McLaren because they haven't sat down and told Lando he's number 2 driver. Get it done, McLaren. Have that tough talk. It might actually help Lando. It might make him focus. It might make him think, okay, I have to finally sit down and make improvements on my driving style and my mentality. Instead, you're just carrying this out and giving him an excuse to sabotage himself. Every week. Sit down, have the talk. Sean, what are your thoughts?
No one's going to be surprised by this, but I think you're wrong.
Yeah. Okay, go on. I'm glad. At least we have a discussion.
It was bad. Give you that. Something should have been said. But ultimately, I think this is a result of the pendulum swinging in the opposite direction from the nonsense team orders we got earlier in the season. All right. This is essentially a reaction to the blowback from the early team orders favoring Lando to now say, oh, no team orders. We're not going to tell them anything. Let them do what they do. And you get Lando doing something fucking stupid.
As usual.
Yeah, exactly. Piastri is cool, calm, collected, doing his thing the way that he does it. And Lando makes a pretty stupid mistake. Now, anybody who's paying attention and anybody who's been watching F1 for a while will note that he's not the first person to try and take that line. They talked a lot about it on the F1 app coverage, that Hamilton and Button did the same thing.
Yes.
They were both at McLaren.
2011, the special Grand Prix.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, in doing that, that was a much more deliberate push from, I think it was Button to Hamilton.
No, Hamilton, I think, hit button, squeeze button, if I'm not mistaken.
Either way, not important. This case is a little different because Lando just ran into the back of Oscar. But it raises the question of why. Why are all these talented drivers trying to squeeze the car into 2 feet of space that ultimately isn't wide enough for these cars? Right? You've got minimal road, a lot of grass. Why are these race cars going off-roading to try and get past on the straight when you've got 2 cars width to the right-hand side of the car in front of you? I've been thinking about that since the race, and to me now it's pretty clear. They don't want to pass on the outside because they want to get the inside line into turn 1. Because every racing driver on that track knows when you come off the wall of champions, in order to avoid really running into it, you've got to make sure that as you approach the wall, your car is pointed at the pit lane, which puts them running down that section of track that Piastri was. But that's not the line for turn 1. Turn 1, you have to be on the opposite side of the track to then cut in. So Norris, just like the McLarens in 2011, were jockeying to see who can stay on that outside part of the track long enough to get the inside into turn 1. So Norris put his car there knowing that Piastri would have had to cut over to the right to make the optimal line for turn 1, and he had better speed going into the straight because he would have had DRS. Where he made the mistake is that he had too much speed and he didn't back out soon enough. And he just ran into the back of Piastri like a fucking idiot. If he had modulated his speed appropriately, he could have waited for Piastri to inevitably cut over to the right to take the line and then been the last to brake and made that and forced Piastri to go off and effectively made the turn 1, turn 2 complex unscathed. But he doesn't seem to have the wherewithal to be able to do that. If the roles were reversed and Piastri was behind Norris in that case, obviously it's hypothetical, I think it would have worked out better for Piastri. He would have kept enough distance to put the pressure on, and as soon as Norris moved over, he would have had the position.
Agreed.
But Norris, whatever the condition was, could not keep it together long enough.
He was desperate for the podium, I think. I think he really thought he had a chance at Antonelli.
With 4 laps left in that gap, not a chance in hell.
Agreed. Completely agreed. But I think that's just where his mentality was. He was desperate to get a couple positions ahead of Oscar. And Oscar defended that perfectly. Oscar was on it, considering he had technically a non-upgraded car and a non-favorable strategy.
But voluntarily non-upgraded.
Still, it's to bring up your point about team orders. I don't see where we're disagreeing here. I think we're actually on the same page. Oscar.
Yeah, well, we're disagreeing because you're putting it on McLaren.
Okay.
I think they made the right choice in not issuing the team orders.
Well, this is what I was about to rebut. Is that how many times can you do that? Like, if you've given those orders to Oscar throughout the season and all he's done is get better and all he's done is won more races, why wouldn't you, when it's to your favor, give these team orders? It's really just
because the winning strategy has to be to not.
It's the same points. Lando's not catching Antonelli. You all think that.
No, but you missed my point, Nick. They haven't been giving those team orders in favor of Piastri, and yet Piastri has succeeded.
Ah,
This is the do the opposite of. So they're not giving the orders. Piastri is winning. So don't keep giving the orders, or keep not giving the orders. That's the way to say it. Keep not giving the orders, and Piastri will stay in front.
okay. So we're
Now, obviously,
we're coming to the same conclusion from different ends. Okay, keep going. Yeah, sorry. That's all I was going to say.
yeah, no, that's the end of my point. That's my stance on it. I can't speak for the McLaren team, but he's done plenty well on his own without team orders in his favor. So why bother? He
That
clearly doesn't need them.
that's a great point. I'm thinking it from the other perspective, which is that they're trying so hard to baby Lando, they can't tell him the truth yet. They're like, he can still do it. Like let's not order him to slow down for Oscar. He can still win the championship. This will work out fine. But from your perspective, which is a good one, they want Oscar to win. So that's why they're not giving orders, because it's reverse psychology. From my perspective is they can't not try and let Lando win this season because they almost promised him. They're scared to tell him no. But it's getting the same result.
Sure.
Because that's how I see
you're
it.
ascribing more, yeah, and you're ascribing more competence in my assumption of them than I'm willing to give them.
You're not wrong. They don't seem competent.
Frankly, I think this is back to the Ron Dennis, Mika Hakkinen thing. If you recall us talking about that a few episodes back.
Mm-hmm.
Coulthard approached Ron Dennis about why do you favor Mika over me? And Ron's answer was basically, because you don't fucking need it. He does. And I think that's what this is. They know Piastri's going to do it. I don't think there's any real concerted effort to say, "Oh, don't do this because if we do this, then it'll turn." It's basically, well, Piastri's confident, just fucking leave him to it. Whatever he says, give it to him because he knows what he wants to do. Meanwhile, they have to baby Lando because he's a good driver. He does have championship potential in him, but fuck, he needs a lot of work.
Yeah, I was essentially going to say the same thing and butcher it. You're right. He should be the favorite, but he keeps fucking sabotaging himself. I think you nailed it. It's just, but it's almost the inverse, right? It's like, I don't need to baby Oscar. Like you're saying Oscar is Coulthard, but Coulthard was never 3 wins and how many points ahead of Mika at any point in time. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no, I'm not making that comparison.
Yeah, okay.
From a people management standpoint, it's a similar approach. From the actual dynamics of the championship, it's completely different.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. It's just, I don't know why they haven't completely rallied around Oscar yet. I don't know why they wouldn't want to give team orders in that instance. Like, you can make it up later, Lando. But yeah, I guess everything you said answered that. So it's just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. But on the same note, and maybe there's a philosophical principle in here somewhere, like, they've put so much effort into Lando over these years, right? You can call it the sunk cost fallacy, that they can't back out of Lando. But at the same time, they've made the right decision in bringing Piastri on. And they know, okay, put him out there, he'll do the job. Let's focus on Lando and let's try and get him what he needs at any point. And if he's in position to do something, we'll give the team orders in favor of Lando, but Piastri doesn't need our help. So let's not bother with that. Let's not waste the energy. Let's try and get 2 drivers into championship contending positions, which they are now. And it's clear to me, at least, probably to you as well, who's going to come out on top.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is not necessarily a conscious thing that they're doing, but it's one of these, we have a steady driver we don't need to worry about in Piastri. leave him to his business, let that side of the garage deal with it. And then on the other hand, on Lando's side, we got to baby him a bit. We got to do this. We got to give him an extra leg up. And it comes off as favoritism because that's effectively what it is, and it looks like that. But it could just be that Lando needs the extra care.
He definitely does. But
yes,
I don't know how many. It's not Humpty Dumpty. I'm trying to think of like the old fairy tales here, like the Emperor's New Clothes or something. Like we all see he's naked. We all see what's happening here. Lando doesn't.
I'll give it to you. That was a pretty good analogy. It is pretty much, the Emperor has no clothes.
Oh God, we got to end the episode now then. Okay. Yeah. I was going to maybe bring up, is this a war between Brown and Stella's winning? I can't imagine there'd be any animosity between them. Yeah, but Stella clearly likes Oscar. Brown clearly likes Lando. Is, like I said earlier in the season, is Stella trying to show Zach Brown what the reality is? But I don't think so.
No. You've been pushing this narrative for a few months now, and I don't see any merit in it. I don't even know where it came from.
My conspiracy-minded brain, of course.
Well, yeah, but you know me. I like to see evidence in everything or try and find a practical reason why people think the way they do. And in this case, there's nothing. There's no indication that this team is infighting at all. They're actually doing what all the other teams should be doing and not giving into the bullshit like Red Bull has, like Ferrari has, like the Italian media has.
Yeah.
They're just there. They know their rules. Zach Brown's the CEO. Andrea Stella's the team principal. They get on, they do their job. There's nothing to support your conspiracy-addled mind. And it's nonsense theory.
Could you imagine what this podcast would be if it wasn't both of us? It would just, like, if you had your own podcast and I had my own podcast, I would be off YouTube, probably on like Rumble or Gab or something, because I would just be going off every episode. You know what I mean? Like they would not allow me on YouTube.
I do know what you mean. The unfortunate thing is you would probably have a larger follower base than you currently do.
I was just about to say that.
Conspiracy folks are fucking ridiculous.
Okay. So I'm just going to keep my sensibilities here, and then I'm going to start a channel on Rumble. That's how we make money.
Whatever you do in your spare time, Nick, is all on you. Just don't include me in it.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go back through our McLaren discussion because you brought up an excellent point about hiring Oscar, even though they thought they had Lando. You know what I mean? Like, we still wanted that insurance, because I think you and I predicted this last year that it would come to this point at some point. I think a lot of people did, but I think you and I had a better discussion. So I'm going to go through that episode and maybe get some shorts going showing what we outlined. 12 months ago? Yeah, 14 months ago.
I will make the prediction, though. Everybody is saying, oh, look, we're here on the timeline, right? Oscar and Lando crashed. We're not there yet, guys. This was Lando making a mistake. He came out afterwards and he says, oh, yeah, I fucked up. The team hasn't really put out any statements. This is a non-incident. The real incident, the real coming together and clashing, is still yet to come.
Yeah, they and Red Bull having a big weekend, right? Like, yeah, like something where there's big consequences to the crash. You're talking about the Hamilton versus Rosberg rivalry, comparably.
Yes.
In 2016. Yeah, you're
We're going to see something like that on a weekend where Mercedes has a 1-2 because of it.
Or, yeah, I guess Red Bull's never having a 1-2. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
No.
Or Ferrari, yeah. More likely Mercedes.
We're going Yeah, we're going to see a string of races that are tight, where they're not clear runaways from McLaren. So the points gap will close, and then it's going to come to a head with the two McLaren drivers truly coming together and Mercedes getting a 1-2 to bring the championship title very close together.
I'm ready.
That's my prediction.
That's a good prediction.
We're not there yet. We will be there.
I wonder if it happens in Hungary again. Instead of a fuck up to see who finishes 1-2, a fuck up to see a different team win 1-2. And that would be interesting. That would bring it full circle.
Could be. We see Nico and Gabriel 1-2.
Oh, shut up. Embargo. I almost forgot. Embargo.
Ocon won a race. Anything can happen.
You might have to be put on an embargo on Esteban Ocon soon.
What I've said about Esteban Ocon this episode is probably like, I don't know, 0.1% of the nonsense that got you embargoed on the others.
Good point. Well made. You brought up the Italian media, which brings up my other bad of the week, which isn't really a bad. They didn't really do that bad because they're just actually doing what they normally do this season. Ferrari. But I think the lead up into this race is worth talking about. It's been very bad, media-wise, up until Canada, and it showed on the track. That doesn't help. Yes, Lewis Hamilton ran over a groundhog. It's pronounced groundhog, Kimi Räikkönen, for everybody who remembers. I don't know what
he said.
So Kimi, I think it was 2018. Oh. I don't know what that is. That's a bad impression, but
yeah. You got to shout more with it.
Yeah. Runs over a groundhog, has downforce problems, runs a race of his own, a quiet race in 7th, end up being 6th. Not his fault. Leclerc, once again, ignored by his engineer. Why that word was so hard for me to say, I'll never know. In strategy. And everybody's making a big deal about it. I just want to say, before I get to the phrase of the week, that if Leclerc was good enough and knew he was good enough and was confident enough, he would have whipped this fucking team into shape years ago. He would have made his thoughts clear years ago. Every time you see a strategy mistake where Leclerc says, I want to do this, and they do that, you blame Charles Leclerc. He could have stayed out. He could have made his own decisions. But he never does because he's not confident in himself. I'm tired of hearing these people rush to his defense. Oh, he's just a nice guy at a bad team, a poorly run team. Shut up. Michael, Sebastian, Kimi, Felipe, they all had to stake their claim. Fernando, they all had to stake their claim at Ferrari. Charles never did. That's his fault. Enough.
Yeah, man, I was just going to say, nice guys don't become champions.
Well said. That. Perfect. We've said that a bunch of times. Well encapsulated, Sean. Thank you.
As much as I don't like that, nice guys don't win champions.
Sport and real life are different. Nice guys do win in the end in real life. Sports, you gotta be a bastard sometimes. You gotta.
Yep.
The point I was getting at is, leading up into the Canadian Grand Prix, the solution from the Italian media was to suddenly fire Fred Vasseur and tell Lewis Hamilton to retire. That's not going to fix Ferrari, guys. That's not Ferrari's problem. Hamilton is 10 races in. Leave him alone. No. Fred Vasseur was supposed to fix this team. You fired the guy who brought this team back from the dead, who was an engine specialist, who could have been really good for 2026, and you're going to fire the team principal who's been in charge since leading up to 2026, 14 races, 6 months before a new set of regulations? That's your solution?
Yep.
How fucking stupid is this? I imagine John Elkann has a hand in that, if the media's saying that this is what John Elkann's thinking. Before I get to the phrase, what do you think of this?
No, I don't believe John Elkann has anything to do with this. I think this goes back to what we talked about numerous times. It's the nationalistic nonsense of Ferrari. Ferrari is not a self-governing team. They're an Italian-governed team. You may as well make them part of the political establishment and make them, ruled by committee. As ridiculous as that sounds, that's what it effectively is. The Italian media puts this shit out there to plant the seed to create the problem that then leads to the change that they want to see.
The self-fulfilling prophecy. Well said.
Yes. They're saying, oh, Fred Vasseur's on thin ice, he's about to go. And if they push that long enough, and this is true with a lot of political content these days, if they push the lie hard enough, it will become the truth. And that's been how the Italian media and Ferrari have functioned since its inception. And it's fucking nonsense, but they give into it. And frankly, if John Elkann has half a sack, he'll ignore it and let Fred get on with it. Because I think Fred Vasseur has what it takes to turn the team around like Binotto did, but Ferrari has to get over the Ferrari of it all.
I disagree with just that. I don't think Vasseur ever had it. I don't think he should have been hired. He's too. Okay. He's a nice guy like Leclerc in the sense, and they're feeding off of each other.
It fits your narrative.
The Frenchman.
It fits your narrative of having a Frenchman and a good English engineer.
Do they have a good English engineer?
Jacques Claire.
Well, that sounds French to me. Okay, well.
It is, but if you've seen him or heard him speak, he is very much an Englishman.
I have said that to just give you a fair point here. It was the only time they didn't have this Italian delegation, which is well said by you, was that wonderful 6 years of them winning, or 10 years with Michael there, and 6 of them winning, that they could not fucking stand. And I brought it up a million times before. They wanted Michael out because it wasn't the Italian way. And that's well said, Sean. But I don't think Vasseur is of any of that cloth. He was in charge of Alfa Romeo for a few years and they finished 6th a couple times. Like, I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he should have never been hired. They should have stuck with Binotto. They should have stuck with Sebastian Vettel. They should have done a lot of things. But yeah, the solution that they have now is very stupid. And I think you're right. They will become a self-fulfilling prophecy at one point. I think this is inevitable now, just the way they're talking about it. But we'll see. We will see.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is something that you and I don't agree on. You think Vasseur is too much of a nice guy. Based on everything I've seen, his outward persona is nicer than his actual persona. But yeah, like you said, we'll see.
That's a decent point. And actually, to add to your point, he can be nice, but he still needs to hire better around him. So maybe he could win with that attitude if he hired better around him. But yeah, we'll see if he gets the time.
Yeah. Now, I will agree with you on the Leclerc point. If Leclerc had the balls to do what he needed to do, and the team, if he wanted to go with Plan C, and he knew Plan C, for example, was, I don't know, 50 laps on that tire, and the team called him in at 25, he just wouldn't go in.
Yes.
If he legitimately thought that tire had more in it, why the fuck are you going into the pits? If the team calls you in, ignore it. If you genuinely think it's the wrong strategy, do it. Do what you think is right because you're in control of that car. And unless the team gives you a solid reason as to why you absolutely have to come in, do it. There's no penalty for ignoring the team. Unless they have data that they're not sharing with you and the tire blows. Then that's their fault. Right? But at that point, it should be you need to box now. Tire temps are critical. Wear is critical, whatever the message is. But if they're not giving you that, if you're saying, oh, no, Plan C, and they call you in the next lap, which just so happens to line up with Plan B, but you're confident you have the pace, why the fuck are you listening to them? They've proven that they don't know what they're doing. You've proven that you're a better strategist in theory. because their strategies don't work, why are you listening to them? Stay out.
Yeah.
Try it. One race. Make it Austria. Oh, target plan B. No plan C. Okay, target plan B. Oh, fuck you. I'm staying out.
They're crying out for that. They're crying out for
See what
someone like
happens.
that. Yeah, exactly. See what happens. Change. They've been asking you to be that guy.
If it goes poorly, yeah. And if it goes poorly, take it on the chin. Yeah, I didn't listen to the team. My bad. Next race, go back to listening to the team. But until you try it, you don't fucking know.
It's very duplicitous of him. He runs and cries to the media about Ferrari while you're right, just following Ferrari. You can't have it both ways.
No. And that's just it. Michael never did that. Michael knew what he wanted to do, and if the team didn't let him do it, he made it clear that he was not happy with that.
Yes.
In such a way that wasn't just saying, I'm not happy. He made changes. And then people came to respect him for that and then gave him the leeway to do what he wanted to do.
Yeah, you talked about it, I think, at the end of last year, early this year. He walked into the pits and destroyed something with his helmet. I'm not happy with what's going on here. You got to do that too, Charles. But we'll see. We'll see what he's got. I mentioned Rubens Barrichello last episode. It's because I've been thinking about this for weeks, and it lined up nicely. Ferrari needs to sit down and have the talk. Not the talk. Something I'm not looking forward to in 14 years. The talk.
Yeah, poor child.
They need to have the talk. They need to sit down and have the talk with their drivers. Who's number one? You're right. This has been a legacy of fuck-ups for Ferrari for many years now. It's because they haven't had the talk with their drivers since Fernando is faster than you in 2010. Fernando Alonso to Felipe Massa. I'm serious. I'm about to make a big point here. They knew who the number one driver was there. They knew who the number one driver was with Kimi and Felipe. Stupidly, they chose Felipe. It almost worked. They could have stuck with Kimi. But they had the talk in 2007. Kimi's our guy. They had the talk with Michael for many years. Rubens Barrichello, you are a great driver. You've done great things at Jordan, at Stewart, for God's sake. You got several podiums. A team that had no business being anywhere near the podium. You're a great driver, but you're just not championship material, are you? You know what, though? You can win a bunch of races at Ferrari if you understand your role. Did he deserve that? Did he deserve more? Probably. He probably deserved more. He deserved a better career. However, they gave him the talk. They haven't had the talk since Vettel and Raikkonen. Raikkonen gave himself the talk in 2014. I don't know why, or 2015. And came back to Ferrari and said, yeah, I don't have to do anything. I can just chill and make this a hobby. You had so much more to give, Kimi, but you gave yourself the talk and played second fiddle to Sebastian. And it worked fine for a few years. But then ever since they got rid of Kimi and brought in Charles, they never had the talk. Who's number one? They just sort of pushed Sebastian Vettel out. They just brought Carlos Sainz in and never talked about who was number one. And that's why they seemed equal at times, because Charles is not that good and Carlos can do decent things at a decent car. But now is a perfect opportunity. Sit down and have the talk. Who's number one? Who's going to be the winner? Who's going to play second fiddle? Who's going to be the defender? Who's going to step up when the other driver's out? Have the talk, because that's how Ferrari wins. Instead of throwing muck in the media, instead of causing shit between the team principal and the owner and your drivers, just sit down, have the talk. It's going to suck. It's going to suck for one driver. It's going to be a couple of crappy races, bad adjustments, but you will be better for it. Now's a perfect time. It's not working what you're doing. Having two quote-unquote point-scoring drivers is not winning you anything. Sit down and have the talk, please. All right. That's it for me today.
That's it? We're done?
No, I'm just saying, I'm not going to rant anymore. I've ranted a lot this episode.
That's all good. I don't disagree with you, and that's saying something, so.
Wow. Did you have any other bad before we wrap up this episode?
I think I got plenty of bad.
How about it, boss?
There is something I want to say about Isaac Hajar, which I was debating about where to bring it up.
I lost you.
I'm here.
All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go. You were going to talk about Isaac Hajar.
Yeah. So Isaac Hajar obviously didn't have a great weekend, which is what are we calling him this year? The sugar-free Red Bulls strategy didn't work out.
Yeah.
Never was going to work. I don't know why the fuck they did that, but okay. So Isaac got screwed, which is a bad. I was really hoping that they had turned the corner because the last decent string of races showed that they had some good performance, and the strategy let them down. That being said, I do have to give him a little bit of a boost. I just listened to his interview on Beyond the Grid, and I was really impressed by the way he thought through his answers, by the amount of detail he was able to put into his answers. It was really impressive. So we've had a lot early on in the season to say about him that he potentially wasn't ready. But after listening to that Beyond the Grid episode, and you should go listen to it, Nick, if you have some time, it's impressive. Couple of things quickly, just because it will tie into my assessment of him. His father is a quantum physicist.
Wow.
And a closet racer. So he wanted to get into racing, and that's all fine and dandy. And Tom Clarkson pushed him. Oh, was your dad upset that you didn't go into science or you didn't get your degree or whatever? And he's like, no, it was fine as long as there was some kind of scientific or some intellectual aspect to it. So apparently Isaac has actually taken very keenly to the engineering and the feedback going into these cars.
Wow.
Which then explains why he's gotten on top of them and why he's been able to work with the team to get a car that suits him. And they say in the podcast that the engineers at Racing Bulls have said that he is intensely or fiercely intelligent. Like, he just seems to grasp the concepts and run with them. And Tom Clarkson asked him to visualize the first sector of Suzuka and kind of walk him through what the first sector of Suzuka feels like. And the way he describes going around that track, and don't get me wrong, all the drivers can recount it in this kind of detail, right? Like, they claim to be an F1 driver. You need to be able to navigate these tracks blindfolded effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first time I've heard somebody, or at least a newer generation driver, be able to accurately do that. And the way he describes being able to take, turn one, no DRS, no brake, just a slight lift off the gas, that's enough to slow you down, into turn 2, but once you hit turn 3, 4, 5, you're not breathing. And like, just the way he describes going through those and just nonchalantly, like, yeah, you hit turn 5, you're in 5th gear, you're doing this speed, you're not breathing until you exit turn 3, you enter, you're not breathing, you exit 5, then you can take a breath before you hit 264 kilometers an hour going into Degner 1. It's like, holy shit. Yes, he's been there before, but that amount of detail, just kind of off the cuff, being asked a question in a podcast, that is impressive. So for someone that we kind of wrote off early on in the season as not being prepared, I would argue that he's immensely prepared. If that's the way that he thinks we're less than halfway through the season, he's ready for it. Now, I'm not claiming he's going to win a championship anytime soon, but the kid deserves to be there.
Yeah, that sounds very impressive. That's exceptional.
Yeah.
I think I was definitely
So
wrong about him. I was definitely wrong about him. But I will listen to that
I
podcast.
know, I know for sure I was wrong about him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't admit defeat a lot on this podcast.
You know, it's hard to admit defeat when you're never wrong, Nick.
Okay, yeah. Uh-huh. And when you have me as a partner that you can clearly see when I'm wrong.
And this is it. It's easy for me to not be wrong when I'm paired with you.
Thanks. Great. Should have ended the episode. Okay.
All right. Other than that, I promised I had bad for Behrman as well.
Yes.
For the same reason that I had bad or good for Behrman. He couldn't get on top of it. He was pushing hard, and we gave him credit for that, and he deserves the credit for that. But holy shit, that car looked like crap all weekend. Every time they cut to him, he was going wide or going off a curb or something. Like he just did not have it this weekend. I don't know what the fuck happened, but that car was not doing it for him. Inverse of his teammate, where Ocon was boring. Ocon had nothing exciting all weekend, but he did enough to get 2 points. And I think that's the rookie in Behrman. So as much as I love to see him pushing and you gave him credit for pushing hard, you got to know when it's too much.
Here's a philosophical principle. You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away. He's still learning. He's still learning that.
And I think that's just shy of being a copyright issue there, Nick.
Shit. Not again. Yeah. Well, these are the dog days of summer. I'll say this for all the rookies. This is a big part of the calendar. You can either start strong or start slow, but this is the part where you show what you're made of. And that goes to not just him, that goes to Bortoleto, Hadjar, Liam Lawson? No, kidding. Antonelli.
Definitely not a rookie at this point.
Definitely not a rookie. Yeah, this is where we'll see what they're made of. Antonelli had a good start to the dog days of summer. The rest of them will have to catch up or sink, but we'll see.
Yep.
I guess that wraps it up, unless you have another one.
I'll just throw in a Bortoleto to the bad because we haven't seen anything from him. You know, he's had decent races compared to the rest of his races, if that makes sense. But largely, he's not there. We haven't seen the performances like we've seen from Hulkenberg. He's nowhere near scoring points. It used to be that Sauber was a jumping off point for championship level drivers, right? Up to a certain point, every championship level driver we had effectively came through Sauber. We're not seeing that now. And it's not that Gabriel Bortoleto doesn't deserve to be in F1. I think he does. But Sauber has turned a corner in that the car is no longer a stable base to build off of. It's just the slowest car in the field, which isn't giving him the capability to show what he has. So it's unfortunate, but I think he does need to step up. Yeah.
I hope he has no pressure on him. I really do, because he wasn't hired to be Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg has...
No,
yeah. This Hulkenberg
I don't think he has any pressure on him.
I hope not.
From my perspective, I think it's unfortunate that we haven't seen, early on in Zhou's career, he had a couple of points, right? He had some strong early performances in the seasons. And maybe Bortoleto turns around and gets some late season points. But based on what we're seeing, it doesn't look good.
Zhou went into a car that was fighting with the Mercedes and scored 1 point. Bortoleto's come into the worst car and trying to navigate his experience in F1. It's different for everybody. By the France Toast School, we'll see it by year 3. Let's give Bortoleto some more time. I think it's coming. I really do.
What the fuck just happened?
You okay?
Yeah. Well, maybe I might be having a stroke. Did you just use my own mentality in an argument with me? That's not your. That's not your. That's not your default position, Nick.
Am I having a stroke? I was legitimately worried about you for a sec, so thanks for that. We have to end the episode now.
You caught that though, right? Like
The Franz Toast stuff?
you're standing up for Bortoleto and that he's in the worst car and oh wow, okay.
You've changed me. I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
What's happening to me?
Clearly. Anyway, I guess we have to end the episode here because I don't want to revert back to what it was.
Sean's fine, everybody. I was about to call 911.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time this in the last couple months, but okay.
Yeah, God. So that means I'll forget about this in like 12 hours. What do you mean Sean had a problem?
Okay.
Yeah. All right, everybody. On that note, we'll be back after Austria. So enjoy the rest of your week.
Fun.
Enjoy the rest of your week, and I hope it's good.
And Nick, if you're looking for some racing to watch this weekend, the 24 Hours of Nürburgring is on.
Where's that on?
You'll find it on YouTube.
All right. I watched a bit of Le Mans. Le Mans was excellent. Congratulations, Robert Kubica, by the way. Holy shit. 40? He's 40, right?
He's something like that. But the man did it with one hand.
No. He was injured?
Have you seen it? He's permanently injured. He is disabled, Nick.
I didn't realize that. Sorry. I know he got it bad in 2009 or 2010. I didn't realize he got that bad.
Yeah. I mean, he still has both hands, obviously, but the one hand is damn near unusable.
Wow.
When he was racing for Sauber, his upshift and downshift were on the same side.
Oh, my God.
Go look at the pictures of him on the podium. He's hiding his one hand because he doesn't like to show it.
Huh. Going to be 41 this year.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Yeah, I will try to watch some of that. I got some time off, so I might as well.
Yeah, it's a great race, as long as it doesn't get rained out.
Franz Hermann, I'm sure, is going to show up.
It's not a WEC race, so Franz Hermann won't be there.
Too bad. All right, everybody. Franz Hermann is the favorite to win Austria. We'll talk to you after that race.
In a GT3 car.
If they give him time to practice, yes. He can do it.
Yeah. The joke is it's a Ferrari GT3 car.
The only way they win. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.